A'ja Wilson's just a big bully. Look at this. Throws Lexi Hall on the ground. Everything she does is illegal. Look at this one. A moving screen and then pushes Lexi Hall. You think they ever call a foul on A'ja Wilson?
The Las Vegas Aces launched a barrage of cheap shots, flops, and elbows. However, the Indiana Fever remained unflinching. Indiana reacted with speed, force, and unwavering fortitude each time Vegas or A'ja Wilson attempted to push. Desperation replaced what Vegas perceived as intimidation. And it wasn't just points when Kelsey Mitchell used huge shot after big shot to hush the arena. It was retaliation. It's not simply about winning. It concerns how the Fever revealed unethical behavior and turned Vegas haughtiness against them. Furthermore, after being the target of the majority of A'ja Wilson's dirty acts, what precisely did Lexi Hall say? To express your support for the Fever in spite of all the hardships they have faced, leave a remark on the Fever show. Come on.
This was supposed to be a night all about A'ja Wilson's legacy. She made history before the ball even tipped, but the game that followed reminded the Aces how tough this playoff run will be.
The Indiana Fever have pulled off the upset, the 6th seed, beating Vegas 89-73 to take game one.
In Las Vegas, the focus was on A'ja Wilson clutching her MVP award only hours before tip-off. The plan was for it to be as a message to the rest of the league that this was their time, their series, and their championship to defend. The Aces had a night of celebration. However, that trophy presentation felt less like a victory and more like a diversion by the time the last horn sounded. Once the game started, the excitement immediately faded because everything the Aces believed would be simple ended up being anything but.
And A'ja Wilson and the Las Vegas Aces lose Game 1 on their home court to the Indiana Fever, 89-73. The Indiana Fever were in control of this game from start to finish. There was a small little patch there in the third quarter. We started saying, are the Aces gonna come back? But Kelsey Mitchell and Odyssey Sims said, no, they're not going to come back. Not at all.
The Aces were given the title of big favorites when they arrived. It sounded like Indiana in the media discussion. Hardly merited being on the same floor. Long before they had left the locker room, that script was written. Vegas had the streak, the star power, and the champions. Due to injury, Indiana's roster was missing 6 players. Caitlin Clark was unable to participate. There was no Sophie Cunningham. Sydney Colson did not play. The list went on from there. The matchup seems unfair to the majority of experts. A fight has already been decided. And that arrogant self-assurance permeated all the way down to Becky Hamilton, the head coach of the Vegas bench, had previously stated that the Fever hadn't even seen the actual Aces as of yet. The tone was obvious. The purpose of this game was to make a statement.
You actually just referenced it twice. It is Indiana. Dropped 2 of the 3 games to them this year, but you haven't seen them since late July. What excites you about that matchup?
That they haven't seen the real Aces yet. They caught us when we were a bit in turmoil. Not only that, they whooped us one of those stretches. So, you know what? We'll buckle in, hone in where we can, and take care of business.
However, the Fever were viewed as a footnote while Vegas reveled in all of that prior anticipation. It was audible in their discussion by analysts. The Aces dismissed Indiana as a last-minute setback in their pursuit of another championship. And, to be honest, that was ideal for the Fever, because you can play freely when no one is expecting you to win. There is no strain on you. You remove it entirely from the table. And as soon as the ball went up, that freedom was evident.
On the court, the Fever crashed the party. Kelsey Mitchell dropped a playoff career-high 34 points to spoil the night with an 89-73 win.
In the second half, I just felt like our physicality and our pursuit was not there. Like, we died on screens. You have to have second and third efforts. Even if you know you might be beat, you still have to try hard to get back into the play, and I don't think we tried hard in that category.
Indiana immediately hit Vegas with pace, refusing to give in to the cacophony. Shots fell, the ball zipped around, and the Aces appeared a half stride slow despite their bravado. Suddenly, the pressure was not on Indiana. The two-time champions, Las Vegas, were expected to roll, but they were immediately thrown into an unexpected fight. And when the underdog doesn't give up, it's remarkable how easily arrogance can turn into panic. The story that everyone had been ignoring was on the first page by the end of the evening. 72% of groups that in a best-of-5 series, the team that wins the first game wins. The math was totally turned upside down by that small annoyance. And the Aces that banged on their own floor were already displaying unmistakable indications of displeasure.
You might get ranking. Shot back. Let it go. Right. Go. What is? Flash for somebody. Die. You don't want to fight no hitter? No. Nigga, I'ma shoot you in the face.
The game took a different turn when Indiana refused to give up. The Aces ceased to play with precision, basketball, and leaned against an unsightly object. It was nearly instantly apparent. They started shoving, jawing, and acting desperate instead of staying true to their offensive strategy and relying on their speed and ball movement. The league's top club was frantically looking for shortcuts after what had begun as a celebration of triumph.
Lexi Hall was getting pushed all game. Let's go through this. This is A'ja Wilson. I'm so big and bad. No, you didn't get touched. It wasn't that cool. You made a layup.
And the Aces did the same. On screens, Jackie Young threw her weight around, delivering hits that were more akin to basketball cuts, but football blocks. Away from the ball, players were caught off guard by unexpected hips and shoulders, under the appearance of physical play that is. Although the entire situation slowed down the beat, Indiana remained unfazed. If nothing else, the Fever began to play even more adroitly in response, leaning into the turmoil and smiling more.
But then Aaliyah Boston swings her elbows around and makes a shot, but no, she can't do it. She's a Fever. An Indiana Fever. She said, that's a flop. That's what Caitlin said. Here we go. A'ja Wilson. Look at her trying to flop to get a call. Nobody touched you. And this is the biggest bullcrap of the game. So Kelsey Mitchell goes in for a layup. A'ja Wilson shows them their lip, so they review it. You ever see an Indiana Fever player get a review when they're called for a foul and they zoom in with a microscope and call it technical? They called it technical on Kelsey.
Indiana's rotation appeared to catch fire with every hard foul. Rather than becoming distracted, Kelsey Mitchell insisted on the ball. More. Odyssey Sims increased their defensive pressure rather of retreating. Both Brianna Turner and Natasha Howard, who were fighting in the paint, countered every Vegas shove with well-planned positioning, remaining resilient without striking back. After being counted out prior to tip-off, the cheap shots served as gasoline, invigorating a squad that already had cause for ire.
A'ja Wilson. Look at that foul they called for. Yeah, saved her. That's some bullcrap. I love Aaliyah Boston. Great job today playing defense. Look at that. Another foul. Bailed out by the refs. I get pissed off. This is the worst one. They call this a jump ball. How is that a jump ball? Nobody even had possession. Aaliyah Boston, that's anything is over the back. Not a jump ball.
The irony is in that. The recently minted MVP's Aces were expected to appear calm and large. Moments. Rather, they displayed nervousness by engaging in the typical playground shenanigans. On their own terms, they acknowledged that they were losing the game. Every stumble, every shove, and every irritated push demonstrated how Indiana's tenacity had taken away their confidence. And the Fever Stars used this unpleasant altercation as their opportunity to shine while Vegas became mired in annoyance. Las Vegas abandoned the basketball act and changed the game to a wrestling battle as soon as it became clear that Indiana wasn't going to back down. Everyone in the arena is flopping, corpses are hitting the floor, and there are shoves in the lane. Might be seen through. When the scoreboard stopped working in their favor, it was their strategy. However, the Fever didn't withdraw from it. Driven by the need for someone to step up and the fact that 6 comrades were missing, they leaned into the pandemonium and found another gear. Rather of unnerving them, the low-cost strategies energized Indiana. And with each Vegas blunder, that fire became greater.
Money, Mitch, put him in a ditch! Who on the Las Vegas Aces is going to try to stop Kelsey Mitchell? Because from what I just saw, they had no answer for her. Kirsten Bell, line right up, smacked. Jackie Young, step right up, torched. Chelsea Gray, torched. Jewel Lloyd, torched. Nobody could hang with Kelsey Mitchell as she goes off.
Kelsey. The shrewdest response to the A's antics was Mitchell. She scored 34 points. Whenever they attempted to convert it into a fight, cutting through their defense with a narrow miss. After a drive, she might be shoved by Vegas. She continued to hit dagger jumpers even after they jawed her throughout the game. Each basket served as a reminder. Even though Vegas might prevail in post-game brawls, they were unable to compete where it really counted. Not a single player had an offensive night like Mitchell's, despite the Aces camp being covered in MVP trophies and title banners. Wilson was present as Natasha Howard and Brianna Turner battled inside, but they didn't let the brutality deter them. Their match. They made the Aces' lives unpleasant, held their ground, and rotated smoothly. The defense was not ostentatious. It was the kind of discipline that reveals a disgruntled squad taking quick corners. Following that was Lexi Hull. Her defense of Jackie Young was harsh for Vegas, keeping her in check, making her work for every shot, and ending with the night's top score of plus 24 plus negative. She might not fill the highlight reels in the same manner. That's influence you can quantify, not love. Wilson only shot 6 for 22 in the end. For someone who hailed the finest hours earlier, that stat line was awful for a guy in the league. It wasn't a coincidence either. Wilson's comfort areas were cut off when Boston, Brianna Turner, and Natasha Howard carried out a plan that blocked the lane. She encountered length and strength at every turn rather than simple spins and drop steps. The Fever's interior defense turned off the faucet, preventing the Aces from achieving their typical free-flowing rhythm. Even though Wilson tried to push her way into rhythm, she was never able to do so as shots were disputed and rebounds were torn away.
They don't want to talk about it. Yeah, her missing layup after layup after layup. They want to talk about Caitlin Clark missing a three-pointer from half court while she got people falling into her legs. But nobody wants to talk about A'ja Wilson looking like Angel Reese, missing point-blank layups all game long. In a playoff game, 6 for 22.
There was no more obvious contrast between the two stars. Boston played with composure, remaining inside the game plan and not going overboard. Wilson became irritated. She flung her hands up against the refs, forced disputed jumper after contested jumper, and leaned into flops for fouls. Nevertheless, Las Vegas failed to adjust. Coach Becky Hammond avoided the obvious post-game by praising Indiana's defense instead. She cited errors and lost chances, but she never admitted that Boston had clearly prevailed in the head-to-head match. That inability to accept responsibility only served to emphasize how powerful Indiana's front court was captured. Everything has a specific...
Lexi Hull had that great steal to seal the win against Atlanta.
Karmic balance. Wilson received her flowers early in the day, but by dusk. After being restrained by a second-year center during her first playoff semifinal, she was leaving her own court. It was poise, not just athletic prowess, that made the difference. Boston maintained her composure, made necessary adjustments, and never let the situation or her opponent control how she played. That composed demeanor turned into the difference between a prepared team and an anticipated champion.
Regardless of people think we aren't going to win, people think we're not going to come back, like the game's never over until that final buzzer. So for us, just continuing to believe, continuing to trust in the process. But yeah, that game was really exciting. And I think that just showed us that we really are capable of whatever we want.
Remaining, the Indiana Fever have a lot of opportunities, according to history. As best, almost 3 of every 4 teams who win the first game go on to win the series. Thus, this wasn't merely a nice victory on the road. The way this semifinal appears was drastically altered. The Aces entered the game with 18 victories in their previous 19 games, but as soon as Indiana entered their building and took home court, their momentum vanished.
You know, we've got to keep the main thing, and that is us playing to a standard of basketball that we want to have as an Indiana Fever organization and franchise. You know, we've got to keep our layers. You know, the outside, the people in our building, and the people in our locker room. And the thing I'm just so proud of with this group is it doesn't matter who's on the floor, it doesn't matter who's on our roster. They give each other the freedom to be themselves. They empower one another to be themselves and to be the best version of themselves. And every time we've had a change, every time we've brought someone in, every time we've had rotational changes, they're for each other. They live the we over the me. And when you have that, it just gives you opportunities to do really special things.
Vegas is now in uncharted terrain. At home, they became ashamed. Their coach acknowledged that their MVP was shut down. The club was unable to match Indiana's urgency after that. Adjustments will therefore be the focus of Game 2. They'll also likely attempt to slow down, pursue Kelsey Mitchell more vigorously, and give Wilson more comfortable touches close to the hoop. This time, don't be shocked if Jackie Young is devoted to Mitchell only to prevent her from igniting it once more. Indiana, on the other hand, has nothing to lose. Stephanie White is a star. Even the wounded players are supporting them like extra coaches, and the locker room is buzzing. Building on momentum isn't the only goal of Game 2. It is a test to see if the Fever is appropriate for that contender discussion. The Aces would be facing elimination back in Indianapolis with just one more victory in Vegas.
Feel about the performance, the urgency, and the response you had when they made a couple runs late?
Yeah, I feel good. I mean, you know, our group has seen it all. You know, we wanted to come in and be the aggressor right away to make sure that we were dictating on the defensive end and we were dictating from a pace standpoint. You know, they're champions for a reason. We knew that they were going to make runs. They made a big one in the third and we responded with a big one. I'm proud of our team. It's one game, it's a long series. So, you know, we got to keep the main thing, but to come in here and to be able to steal this one was big for us.
In Vegas, the Fever accomplished more than just steal a victory. They really changed the narrative. Aja Wilson's night out was. Indiana defeated the Las Vegas Aces and won their first semifinal in more than a decade, earning them MVP honors. Consider that. A roster with few players entered the league's most difficult arena and made history. Keep in mind that teams that win the first game in a best-of-5 series typically dominate it. This is more than simply an upset, then. It might be the pivotal moment. Now, the question is straightforward. Can this wave of fever continue? Because everything will change if they do. Changes. Leave a comment on the Fever Show to express your solidarity with them in spite of all the hardships they have faced. Turn on all notifications, like, and subscribe to ensure you don't miss anything. After you click the video on the screen, we'll meet you in the following.